In case you didn't know, Guam was, as our friend Landon Aydlett from the NWS said, was spared because what has become a rather large storm passed us, a far away, but it is looking to have some sort of effect on the east coast of the Philippine Islands right now.
Right. 8:23. So Mondays we do work week weather with Landon Aydlett from the National Weather Service, and there's definitely a lot of talk last week, Landon. As we're starting off with an image, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is our Typhoon Surigay that we were talking about all week last week. This has been an incredibly slow-moving system from the time it was first depicted in the long-range forecast models all the way through its development near Yap and Palau, and now it's sitting east of the Philippines. So where exactly on this map are we looking? Well, there's the Philippines. So a lot of people have been messaging our Facebook page here at the Weather Service from the Philippines. Is it going to hit us? How bad is it going to be? And so we can't officially forecast for the Philippines. We have to direct them to the Pagasa agency there. But the good news is for the Philippines, this is not going to be making a direct landfall on any of the islands of the Philippines. It's going to keep just east. But the bad news for them is it is crawling. If you see this forward motion, this is over the last 12 hours or so. It's not going anywhere fast, and it's going to continue at that slow rate of speed, at least for the next couple days. It's still Category 4 typhoon with maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour. That is down significantly from its peak intensity, I believe was yesterday, of 190 miles per hour, the strongest April typhoon on record. So we've had some pretty powerful typhoons in the month of April through the recorded history since the late 1940s, but this is tops the charts at 190 mile per hour sustained winds, peak intensity yesterday. Currently moving 6 miles per hour to the northwest, and it's centered about 14.2 north, 126.4 east, just outside of the Guam area of responsibility. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit. One of the key things that we're going to be focusing on, and as you may have seen in weekend headlines and releases from the Guam Homeland Security and our forecast page, hazardous seas and surf. They're going to be here through today and through much of the week, because as this thing spins over there to our west, it's generating large swell and seas and surf for our region. We issued a surf advisory, I think it was Friday night, Saturday morning, for the large southwest swell that's shifting toward the west now. And so we're having hazardous surf across all the Marianas, Yap and Palau. And so that's going to continue for a while until this thing eventually gets out of the area. And again, it's not going to be moving fast. And as far as our weather expectations are concerned, it's not a done deal for the Mariana Islands, because this thing is forecast to track and turn north and then northeast and then pass well north of us. But as it does so, later this weekend, we could see showers and thunderstorms within a convergent tail that extends well south of that typhoon. So keep in mind, that's going to stay way away from us, but we could see weather from this later this weekend. So Jason, if you go to the slides, I'll start talking about what we're going to be seeing right now. And it's a busy morning here in the world of weather. We have a lot of advisories currently in effect. We have a high surf advisory for west-facing reefs. I'm going to go into more detail shortly. High risk of rip current, small craft advisory has been issued this morning. Fire weather watch. Well, there's no watch right now, but our fire danger is extreme. So keep in mind, as long as the winds stay light, our fire threat or our fire danger is going to be a little bit mitigated because of the lighter winds. We've had a couple of fires around the island. And of course, if you looked in the newspaper this morning, our radar was in one of the pages of the Daily Post. There was a grass fire near our radar. Luckily, the radar site is fine. Fire danger is, again, extreme. Moderate drought continues in Saipan and Tinian and across Micronesia. High surf advisory for Palau and Yap, also from the typhoon. Drought information statement continues every 2 weeks from our office for extreme drought in Walchee, the Marshall Islands, and severe drought for Kapinga, Maringi, and Kwajalein. The next slide. Currently this morning, we have east-northeast winds light at 7 miles per hour, partly cloudy with a few light showers. Current temperature is 79 degrees and climbing. Yesterday's rainfall, we had 0 inches here at the airport, but I put a little star there because If you noticed along the west side of the island, we had a little bit of island convection. The winds were light enough to allow some of that convection to pop up on the west side, generate some briefly heavy showers along westernmost parts of Guam and then offshore. We could see that again today and the next several days if the winds remain light enough. Since April 1st, just over an inch and a third of rain for the month, and since January 1st, just a little over 9 inches, and we're down from the normal of 14.14 inches. Next slide, that shows our satellite picture where we are related to the world famous typhoon right now. This is the strongest storm on Earth, as media folks like to talk about it in the States. Category 4, and that's well west of us. Nothing much exciting for us as far as that's concerned, other than seas and surf. The next slide does show the polar orbiting satellite showing the winds at the surface. And I zoomed in on Guam and Sinai. This is those lighter winds that we're dealing with yesterday and today, and this could help initiate some of the island convection. If these stronger winds, the dark blues off to the far right, do move in, which they're going to eventually make their way in, that'll help push off any convection further offshore and off of the island. But as you know, it's dry out there, and we do need that rainfall to help mitigate the fire danger. The next slide, that is our island convection setup again, the sea breeze during the day and the land breeze at night. The land warms up faster than the water surrounding us, so we get that convection over the island, and any wind that pushes around the region will direct where that convection really sets up. And the next slide shows us where we are right now. We have a light east wind, and that's going to help push the convection a little bit toward the west parts of the island. If it's too much west wind, it'll push it offshore or mitigate its development in the grand scheme of things. The next slide, that is our surf advisory. Again, this is for west-facing reefs, so not all beaches, not all exposures will be dealing with a hazardous surf and the high waves, just west-facing. And this is from that bullet of energy on the right-hand side. That's from a large swell coming at about 255, 260 degrees. And beaches affected, that include Retidian Beach, Tangeethan Beach, down to parts of Tumon Bay, more so Gun Beach, Nico, and western areas. The Hilton is more of a north-facing beach. Ipoh Beach is more north-facing, so you're protected to some extent. It's going to be those westernmost parts or the easternmost parts of Tumon Bay, Nico, Gun Beach, etc. Oka Point, Jonestown Cliffs, Arodi Point, and then the Agate Beach down to Stella Bay, Seti Bay, Umatic Bay, where a lot of people were surfing yesterday. It was a beautiful scene out there. But keep in mind, the large waves can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So when in doubt, don't go out. The next slide shows the Retidian buoy. Combined seas 8 to 10 feet. We do have a small craft advisory in effect this morning for this hazardous seas of 10 feet. West swell 7 to 9 feet and northeast swell of 3 feet. We're still above model guidance, that green line showing several pulses of larger swell sets coming through the buoy. And you look at the 24th and 25th at the end of this chart on the right, you see that upward motion. Well, that could be a part of that typhoon passing well to our north. It may direct our winds and strengthen them and in the long term. So do pay attention to forecasts later this week as we get a better feel for where that system, the remnants of the typhoon, will pass well to our north. It could again generate larger seas and surf for our region in the coming days. So the week ahead, mostly sunny this morning, partly to mostly cloudy this afternoon, mainly for westernmost parts of Guam, Rototeni, and Saipan, with isolated showers. If the island convection does get initiated today, there could be more scattered showers and more coverage along the westernmost part and the western waters. So do keep an eye on that if you're going to be out there swimming today. East winds around 10 miles per hour, combined seas on the open waters, 8 to 10 feet, winds at 5 to 10 knots, small craft advisory. And then, of course, we talked about the surf, 10 to 12 feet, high surf along west facing, elsewhere less with a moderate rip risk. Midweek, partly to mostly cloudy, not much change in the weather. The possibility of island convection along the west side of the island. Winds a little bit more east, 10 to 15 miles per hour. And this weekend, it'll start nice on Saturday, but we could see showers and thunderstorms developing Saturday night, Sunday. with winds shifting to the southeast and south around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Combined seas will stay elevated through most of this week with the typhoon in our broader region. So keep in mind, as we move forward, it really doesn't look bad for us, but things can change with little time or warning. So yeah, as long as that typhoon's in the area, we're going to see the hazards persist in the waters.
Yeah, Landon, I got a quick question, because like the screen that you had like right in front of you, right? When it was giving your forecast about that storm right now, it passed obviously Yap and Koror, and it's going towards the east coast of the Philippines right now. You said it poses no threat to us as it continues to kind of like do that curving effect up towards the northeast. Is there anything in science that could even possibly remotely have that come back down on top of us?
I've had that question a number of times, and that's not at all likely. It's just with the broader steering mechanisms in the atmosphere and of the region as a whole. So we had that ridge that was north of this typhoon, and that ridge was keeping it suppressed southward instead of making that eventual turn to the north. Some model projections 2 weeks ago had it coming over Guam, and then just west of Guam, and then farther west of Guam. And finally, it started to make that turn because of that ridge to the north. And so as far as this thing doing a complete 180 and coming straight at Guam, not at all likely.
That would be a major anomaly right there. Because, okay, Link family, I'm going to need your help on this. But was it, guys, was it Super Typhoon Karen or Pamela? Because, Chris, we were too young to remember that. But I think it actually came around and then came back, right?
That's a question better for Landon.
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't think I can pull it up on the software I have right now, but as far as any typhoons making its turn back, I have a lot of those rumors come to me about the Pangsanwa back in 2002, and they say it hit Guam and then it turned around and hit us again. That is not the case. And I think a lot of times people may get mixed up with when you have a direct passage overhead, you have that eye and it calms down, it clears out. And it can be for anywhere from a period of minutes to several hours, depending on the size of that eye and the forward motion of that storm. And I think sometimes people can think it's a second storm, but that's not the case.
So what are we looking at for, is it too far ahead to look at this weekend, Landon?
Yeah, this weekend, again, I'm not a big fan of showing the model forecast because they're more long range and things can change in the long range, but this is what we're looking at. This typhoon, we're looking at Sunday, a week from yesterday, with the remnants of that storm well north of Guam and Saipan Pier. Let me flip my screen. Oops, there we go. So we're looking at the bigger picture here. So Guam, Roatan, and Saipan is down here, and the remnants are way up here. So it's going to be coming up along the coast and then eventually make its way toward the northeast into the farther northern Pacific, well out of our area. But we're going to have this convergence area, and several models are picking up on that area of convergence. It's feeding into the remnants of that typhoon, whatever shape or form it's going to take, and bring it towards our area. So again, here's Guam and the CNMI, and it brings that over us Sunday and Monday. So keep that in mind. If this does pan out, we could see showers and thunderstorms and gusty south to southwest winds. The other models shows similar but lesser winds for us, but still from the southeast. So I'm backing it up a little bit. That typhoon's coming from along the Philippines. I'm going backwards, so don't worry. People might be freaking out when they say it backwards. But this is going to turn up north and then northeast and then keep well up into to our north and then get pulled out to sea.
Yeah, Landon, we got a couple people in comments. Thank you to both Glenn, Lujan, and Luce and Nicholas, and they were saying they believe that it was Pamela that when it made its approach to us, and Pamela was 76. Which one was first?
70.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm gonna give
Pamela was 76.
76.
Because there was a store called Pamela 76 in Aniwa.
Ah, that's right.
Totally scientific.
Yeah, but I think because I remember my grandfather would tell me that like there was one storm where it hit us and then it like oddly came around and hit us again, but that wasn't the when you get a direct hit passing through the eye wall twice thing. But so I'm sure that's going to be an extreme outlier.
That's the track of Pamela, and Guam is right there. So it went straight over the island but without doing a loop back over us. But
Wow.
there is a loop in its developmental stages, and that's the trickiest thing is when these things are developing, their motion can be slow, erratic, and ever-changing, and that's what we were dealing with this last storm as it was developing in eastern Yap State and then near Yap and Nulu, and then eventually it got itself together and started moving very slowly westward. And so that's what we're looking at here in Micronesia. So this is near, it looks like Pohnpei and Chuuk, and then it got its act together and then passed right over Guam right there.
Wow, that one's from the archives. We had a comment here. Omar went north of us, then turned around. Barbara White called it.
Well, let me see. I know I have.
Well, you got your app open there, Landon.
I was going through all the newspapers when I took over this desk from Chip Guard, and I have a lot of old papers from the 60s and 70s from these classic storms. Let's see, here we go. I'm pulling up Omar now.
Yeah, and while Landon's talking, I've also got Joseph is going to bring me up, but I'm actually on the Wikipedia article for Typhoon Pamela.
Are we going Wikipedia now?
1976, and okay, so you got that, sir? I know that
Yeah, so
that storm, that was
Omar.
a big sucker.
Whoops, there we go, Typhoon Omar. And it just went straight across the island. So like I said, it's very rare, if not impossible, for storms to do a complete 180 and go backwards. That's just not likely in the steering mechanisms of the weather pattern overall in this region. But nature does what nature does. And so that's why we're always here watching things. But yeah, we do have all the historical tracks of typhoons since the 1940s. And so we're always excited to talk about all things typhoons in the region.
Well,
and
there you
there's
go.
Guam right there.
I know no matter what, people will look at that and say, yeah, that's not what happened. We lived through it.
Yeah. And that's what we're here for. We're here to clear up confusion and put out the best forecast so people are prepared. And so as far as these storms are concerned, this is our first real major storm that we've had in the region. And so typhoon season, the busy part of the year, is still coming. So especially for folks in Yap and Palau, whatever they had problems with as far as preparations, this is where they address their problems, their shortcomings, and then be better prepared in the future. And this is always a thing that we have to keep in mind as we prepare for the typhoon season coming later this year for us.
Right on. Well, thanks for your time again, Landon. And you're available if anything
Always.
pops up with the weather. Shoot us a text and we'll jam you back on.
Yeah, hey, great job, like
Absolutely.
doing your social media. Like I saw that you and your brother were doing like the Facebook Lives, keeping everybody, informed of what was going on in the storm. Man, you guys are top notch, man.
Well, that's one thing I want to change, especially regarding our outreach, our communications, and Weather Ready Nation in general, is I want to be doing a lot more live Facebook feeds because social media is where the information is now. We got to face the fact the Weather Service right now can no longer operate as it did in the 1980s and 1990s. It's just not that climate as far as information and sharing data. So we have to be where people are getting that information, and that's where we want to focus our communications platforms. Where are people getting information? Where can we better reach people so that everybody has access to our information? And so the feedback that we get from you all, the comments that we get on our Facebook page, that's what helps me drive where we are communicating and how we communicate. So when we do have those threats for Guam, we're definitely going to be upping our games as far as communications and broadcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Landon grew up in the Carolinas. He's got family in Florida. Family out in Washington and everything, and now he makes Guam like his home. He knows a thing or two about storms. He's got a pedigree.
Yeah. And I got a lot of archives in this office behind me on the bookshelves in the file cabinet. So Chip Guard set me up well with the data, the information, the historical archives.
The hard copy.
Now I just need time to go through it.
Landon, that's actually what Chris's bookshelf looks like. It's just they're all like Spawn and X-Men.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks.
Hey,
Well,
I got no problem with that.
Thank
This
you.
is my desk after last week. It looks like a typhoon came through here.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'll be dealing with emails and filing papers and stuff. It's a lot of cleanup I got to do, but it's all worth it.
Well, thanks, Landon, for your time this morning.
Absolutely.
We'll see you there. Landon Aydlett of the National Weather Service. Quick break, and we're back with Dirty Politics. Next, right here on The Link. Good morning.
Learn more about
Catch SportsLink on the KUAM News Morning Show, The Link, every Friday to hear about the latest in sports news, game schedules,